Okay, this is Granny's house. It's a beautiful garden. This is the report. Okay, let's go in. Don't know if you can see this. Pictures of everyone. There's the cutest picture. It's the lounge. Lighting's not too good in here. Some more pictures. Little William. Hey Granny. Say hello.
Hello.
What you doing?
I'm getting lunch ready.
What are we having?
Fish and I don't quite know what. Some
And
nice
bread.
prawns and bread.
Mm.
Okay. Can you see there what's going on?
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay, now what do you want on your fish, Heidi? Do you want lemon juice? You must have.
And mustard.
And mustard. What
That nice mustard.
No? Oh, right, come on. Let's...
Okay, I'm just videoing the house quickly.
Oh.
The bathroom. Study. These beautiful paintings. This is a Picasso painting. Copy, obviously. It's Grandpa Dick and Granny. And Baby Chester. There's Grandpa Dick's degree, Bachelor of Science in Engineering, 1941. And this is our room. And beautiful dressing table. Love this dressing table. There's little Adie and Will, Dad's wedding. Cute. There's me and Lee, but not really. There's us at my mom's wedding. Here's Granny's bedroom. Let me stand here. You can see the garden. This is Granny's favorite perfume, Azaro. And her little closet. Okay, I'm coming. These nice photos of Daddy when he was very young. Grandpa Dick made this, crocheted this. It's beautiful. Okay, we're gonna have lunch now. Is this your kitchen?
That's right.
Is it nice fish?
The fish is getting cold, by the way.
Okay.
It's half cold already, so. Here's some mustard. I'm going to put a bit of mustard on mine. Cold fish is terrible.
What?
No, I wouldn't know. The people I know live in Waterkloof Ridge.
Oh yeah.
Relatives.
Okay, let's drink our coffee then we can start.
Yeah, let's just finish his coffee.
Yeah. I also this morning did my police clearance.
Did you do it?
I submitted the form.
Okay.
What's the police clearance?
It's they check your criminal records and you get a certificate to say that you're clear if you want to go overseas.
Where
So
do you go?
John's also thinking of working overseas, so he's
Where overseas? A lot
starting
of kids go
paperwork.
overseas. Go.
I'm thinking about Korea as well because my sister's there.
Yes, that's right.
So I'm thinking about Korea, specifically South Korea. There's Seoul, the big city, but I won't go there. And then also I'm thinking, I've got friends that went to Vietnam,
Yeah, that's right.
but I don't think Vietnam for me. Korea specifically, it's a good balance between income and quality of life.
Well, you must make it worth your while, you know. And
Yeah.
are they recruiting though? I mean, are they recruiting? I mean, you can't just go there. You've got to you have something to go to.
Yes. Well, they've got advertisements everywhere. So they've got, what you do is you go to an agency
Yeah.
and then you put your resume or your CV on there and they search for a job in your criteria.
I see.
So I'm hoping to get a job where I could teach adults because I don't think I'm going to be good with like very small children.
Yeah.
Or even
What will you teach? What are you teaching? What
English?
English.
That's what they want you to.
Yeah, but you're not qualified to teach English.
No. So
But usually, if you've just got a, they just want to see that you've got a degree.
they want the degree, number one.
Because they train you in any case, so.
Yeah.
And
Like,
what is your degree?
I've got a BSc Botany Zoology.
Botany zoology, a BSc.
Yes. So I'm going to try and do an application for the English teaching just with the degree. But if I see I'm not getting feedback, I'll do what they call a TEFL course.
Yeah.
Teach English in a foreign language. And it's 120 hours, and then you get a certificate. And they accept that, definitely. I've got a friend who doesn't have a degree, and he just did the TEFL. But I'm first going to try, because I'm not keen on doing going through all the
Now,
trouble.
what would you have been able to do here? What sort of a job would you have been able to do here with your BSc biology and botany? I did botany at school, but I wasn't very good.
Well, exactly what I'm doing at
Could
the
you
moment.
teach? Have you got a teacher's diploma?
No, nothing like that.
But you couldn't teach here.
No, No. Well, what I currently do is I do environmental work.
Okay, yeah, right.
I do environmental impact studies for mines.
Yeah, that we do.
So he cucks out Dad's people.
Yeah,
Like, was
basically.
destroying the environment. Dad's.
yeah.
That's right.
Well, that's what we should do. But
Well,
but,
you might come across Dr. Because he works for the government, Dr. Guy
Yes.
Preston.
no,
He's been up here, he comes up here quite often and he does sort of things. You might come with quite possibly, because Penny told me, his wife told me, there's a lady, a member of parliament, head of the department.
yeah, no, he's a big man. I've heard that. Now.
Yeah, no, you may come across him. You know, a guy. I'm trying to think how old Guy would be. In his
50s.
mid-50s already, no? I'm talking about a long time back. You must remember I'm 94.
Yeah,
Guy must be pushing 60.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to start?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not finished his coffee, man.
No, whatever. We just talk. It's fine.
So then, your parents are going over to see Chantal, are they?
That's correct. So what happened now is I wanted to go with them on holiday, but now I've decided like I'm gonna
Decided
try to
change
get a
of
job
heart.
as well. So they'll be visiting in August, the second and the third week of August, and then they'll see me hopefully as well. Hopefully I'll be there before that time.
And Chantal will be back in December, you're saying?
Probably,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
No, they went to September already. They went long before. No, was it
November.
just before Christmas?
November, I think.
November. Yeah. Okay. So they'll be back.
But the thing is with them is when they have their holiday, they're going to want to travel in that time. But they will come back to South Africa for at least a few weeks.
Well, they travelled a little
At
bit.
the end of the year.
Mm.
Yeah.
They went to see their friends. Yeah, the two of us slept here one night. You know. Is it
Daryl and Deja.
Daryl and Desiree? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are in
Taiwan.
Taiwan. They went to see them on their school holiday, didn't they?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, these people are completely the opposite of us. You know, they look different, they eat different, they sleep different, they every different in every way. William said the language is shocking. You know, I mean, you haven't got a faintest. Completely different.
I think it's quite a culture shock.
Yeah, I'm sure. It'll be a culture shock anyway. You're picking up something that you wouldn't have picked up anywhere else
I feel
anyway.
like South Africans are more adaptable
To that sort of
different
thing.
cultures
Yeah.
because we have so many different cultures.
Yeah.
And like just us, we have so many friends who are of different cultures and natures to us. So it's more, it's easier for us to accept and adapt and like,
Yeah, I think you're more
Learn.
adaptable. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And when you go to school, like you see all of that, you
Yeah.
know.
You know, you find mostly New Zealanders and Americans and all that over there, more than British. The Brits don't like it quite so much.
Yeah.
You know?
I
Yeah.
think for them it's maybe not as financially.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah. But you
I
chaps
think
are
they probably go more for the travel.
you chaps are going to make money. You're going to get one boodle. That's what you want. Hey, you want boodle. You know.
Exactly. That's my whole goal as well. I mean, you asked, you asked earlier about what can I do in South Africa, and I mean, the industry I'm in is just.
Yeah, it's a very sort of not non-paying industry, really.
Yeah, high requirements,
Yeah.
masters,
Isn't
degrees,
it quite
Yeah.
full of BEE stuff as
very,
well?
very, very.
So isn't
for
it
me,
difficult for you to actually get a position?
I
Because
can't get a government position. I can't get a
seriously.
corporate position. So that's
Mind
why I'm
you,
working.
that the blackies are coming on. I'm telling you, you hear them on television. They're very good. Huh? Some of them are quite clever. They know
Yeah,
what
but
they're talking
we're
about.
just talking about John's position in terms of getting
Mm.
Yeah.
a job.
Yeah, the thing is, John, do you want to become a millionaire, or do you just want to make a good living and have a wife and children and a normal family and just be normal people? You must make up your mind now what you want to do, you know. What is it that I want? A good lifestyle, or do I want to become rich and have all these things? You know, David, I don't know about Pretoria. Pretoria too, make no mistake. Money is a great thing. Everybody must show off, you know, with the motor cars and the clothes and the whatever is showy, you know. Here we are, you know, we've arrived, sort of stuff. So what?
Exactly. Are you enjoying your life?
Yes.
You know, do
So
you have a
what?
happy family?
Yeah.
Quality
yeah.
of life.
Doesn't matter. I think even if you're a fitter and turner, but Daddy always tells everybody, what is he doing? And he says, well, I'm a diesel mechanic. So there you are, but this is how I live, this is what I have, you know, but I'm a diesel mechanic, yeah. So, yeah, you're a diesel mechanic, right? So...
I should have done that when I finished with high school.
Or a plumber.
Or a plumber,
Yeah.
definitely.
I've got a lovely young plumber, you know. He's got a strange name, it's his mother's and father's name in one, you know. You came to see about my stuff, and he's so nice, he's really so nice. And you know, he came and he said, Mrs. Aldridge, you can just give me my petrol money, don't worry about the rest. So I gave him 200 rand. I thought it was so sweet. Because we didn't know what it was, you know. And he's so nice to work with, he really is. Otherwise I've got black people, I've got a black bloke who cleaned the carpet, he fixed up my at the same time was he doing the carpet, he did these 2 chairs, he cleaned them for nothing. He fixed up my vacuum cleaner, all for nothing. And then I've got a painter who does beautiful work, he's got his own business, he comes from Rhodesia, from the old Rhodesia, Luther, and only his family work for him, his nephews and his near relatives, you know. Mm-hmm. And his work is absolutely top class. He's doing business-like way. And then my plumber is also black. And you know, they do the work well, they're very nice, and they're not as expensive as the other guys. The other guys want to get rich. These people they're not all that interested. They want the money, but they will give you a little bit of, you know, extra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they want to make a good living.
Yeah, make it.
Especially if they come from like Zim or Rhodesia, because they're very grateful for work.
Yes, they are. And they know how to work. They're not lazy.
Not at all. No. Did you ever visit Rhodesia?
Yes, I've been all over. You name it, I've been. Switzerland, you know.
Really?
Greece, UK, Switzerland. Yeah, where else? Paris, you know. I didn't travel a lot, but when I do, my husband used to go on course every so many years in London. And then after London, about 6 weeks in London, and after that we would take a holiday.
Oh.
And he showed me around, and that was it.
Was that in, what year was that? What years, like?
Chester was, the first Chester wasn't even born the first time I went with him. The second time I didn't go because Chester was 4 years old and I couldn't see myself in London. It was sort of going into winter. I thought, God, what am I going to do as a kid in London in cold times? So I stayed home. But that first time we did everything that we could possibly have done.
Okay. And Paris? Was it even in Paris?
Paris, we stayed 2 days in Paris. We went to the Louvre, I saw them on it. He did everything because he was that sort of a man. He knew what we wanted, what we should be seeing, and we did it. Yeah. He's been either there before or he's always wanted to do it himself. Yeah.
Okay. So he was doing courses there for his work?
In London, yeah, at Show House on the Thames Embankment.
Okay. And what was his full names?
He's Richard Kilmington Aldridge.
Richard Kilmington
Aldridge, yeah.
Was he born in South Africa?
Yes, his parents both sets came from England, but he's pure British, but he was born here.
Oh, okay.
But they were very Victorian people, you know. Yeah. And very all about the royal family and everything else. They were proper Brits.
Yes.
But here, born here and sort of adjusted to South Africa. Mm. But they brought the British culture with them, you know, the sort of thing, the men all wear ties at the table and you never went through a door before the ladies. And the old man was a proper pucker gentleman. Mm. Before you go on a ride, if all of you go into the same car, you say, are all the ladies comfortable? Grandpa used to say, okay, right, now we'll go. You know, a real sort of like Victorian type of people. Strictly Victorian, yeah. There was and it's lovely to live with a man like that. Dick was like that because he never had any problems. He always knew the right thing to do. If you went out anywhere, you'll know what to do, what not to do. He knew how to handle a lady, how to put a chair up, you know, that sort of thing. And I thought, oh, well, I didn't grow up like that. And that was just absolutely lovely. And in the end, you get used to it.
Yes. What did you call him?
Dick.
Dick. Okay.
Yeah. That's the shortened abbreviation for Richard.
Oh.
Richard is always called Dick.
Oh.
And William is Bob.
Bob. Okay.
No, William is Bill.
William is Robert.
Robert is
Robert.
Bob.
Yeah. What is Robert is Bob.
Bob.
Yeah, Robert is
William
Bob.
is
yeah.
Bill.
Bill.
Billy, yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna try to call.
So a lot
Bill.
of people that are called, like Bill Gates, his name's William.
Yeah. Don't ask
His
me
name's
why.
not Bill.
Don't ask me why, you know.
Yeah, I don't
But it was lovely to live with the guy. I learned a lot, you know. I sort of, I got another culture. And I wanted to learn to speak English properly. And he had a very good command and a very well-read man. You know, you can quote from Shakespeare and all that sort of thing. But very quiet and calm. You know, he wasn't a great socialite. And, you know, and I remember, you know, whenever I knew he was very knowledgeable, and you'd get with a crowd of people, and the men all holding fast. Oh, yes, you know. And this man was talking a lot of nonsense. And I said to him afterwards, why didn't you challenge this guy? He was talking a lot of shit. He said, well, you know, if he wants to make a fool of himself, let him. You say nothing, let him get on with it.
Yeah.
There's no point in challenging him and say, well, you know, confront him and all that. Except when he couldn't, he fought in the last war, he was in the Royal Navy.
Okay.
During the last war. That's also, he's the Duke of Edinburgh's contemporary, okay. You never met him, but he was on that level, you know. He had the same, that lovely uniform and the things and all that. And they were sailing around, you know, I'm so sorry I didn't ask him for more. They were hanging around the Far East and Australia even and all that, and he couldn't stand Australia. He said they were such a very rough lot, you know. So then we came across people long afterwards and from Australia visiting and all that, and he said, have you been to Australia? I said, yes, during the war. He said, and what did you think? He said, I didn't bother to get off the boat. I thought, oh God.
And they went.
And he floored that guy just like that. He said, of course he didn't. He went offshore a little bit, you know. He said, I didn't bother to get out. He said, I'll show you. He couldn't stand them, you know. So he could put people in their place in a very polite way. And he was never really rude to people. No matter how people got on his nerves, he was always polite.
Yes.
And I can't do that. So controlled. They're very controlled, these Victorians, I'm telling you. They don't explode at all. They're always calm and collected, but they will put you right with their tongue, you know.
Yeah.
And so he was always very, very polite.
Okay.
You know, I remember during, when I came back, now when was it? After he died, 12 years I came back to be with Adie and William and see to them. And Sheila's got the company's got a pensioners fund, and once a month or so they have like a do for all the pensioners, and you have the different sort of like venues, you know, at some golf club or somewhere. And there was this guy, I remember, Dick couldn't stand him, you know. They used to get the pommies out here, Shell, and they would have diplomas, but they would come here and say, no, you know, there's a class system in England. They would now say, oh well, you know, they got a degree and all that, but they never went to university. They did a diploma. And they didn't want to let people know that. And this arrogant guy, Dick, would never stand. He was sort of from not a working class, but lower down the middle class. But they had a knowledge of mechanical engineering, whatever. My husband was a mechanical engineer. And I met up with these people, Auntie Bridget and I went, and he came, he sort of couldn't stand him. And his wife used to ask, wear okay, bizarre clothes, you know. And he sort of said, and Lydia said, you know, this is Lydia, and he said, oh, I said, Dick's Lydia, you remember Dick? Oh, yes, he said, what a great gentleman. He couldn't stand this man, but he was never rude to him. He couldn't have been, otherwise he wouldn't have said he's a great gentleman.
Yeah. So he worked for Shell?
Yeah, he worked for Shell.
Okay. So he was born in South Africa. Where in South Africa was he born?
In Kimberley. His father was the secretary of the Kimberley Club. Yeah, and then they went down to Cape Town.
But his parents are from England, hey?
Yeah, his parents are from England, yeah.
Okay.
And you know, Sir David Harris, now you look it up on your phone. Sir David Harris was a big mining magnate, okay. And Sir David Harris came to him one day. Sir David Harris was a big shot in the Kimberley Club. Women weren't allowed there, or gentlemen, only gentlemen, not people who weren't gentlemen. And Sir David Harris said to him, oh, he said, Aldridge, I've just bought a hotel in Cape Town, a big place, and I was wondering maybe you'd be interested in going down and looking after it for me and getting it back a little bit, you know, sort of Mount Nelson style of thing. And he said, we'll have to think about that. And they decided, all right, they will go. And Grandpa Dick was in in Christian Brothers College in Kimberley at that time. And they said, well, you want to come with us? He said, well, I suppose I'd better. So he wrote an entrance exam for bishops, you know. And he got it, and when the time came to go, he said, no, I don't think I want to leave. So he went to boarding school. And he said, in those days they had all Christian brothers teaching there. There were no women teaching. And if there was any brother died or anything happened, they had to go to church or to the Catholic church. He said it was an absolute pain. But anyway, his parents went down, and when he finished matriculation, he went down. He went to Cape Town University, and his father pulled up that beautiful Queen's Hotel. It was lovely, and they pulled it down. Anyway, I don't even want to talk about it. It makes me quite sick. It was the most beautiful sort of old building with arches like that, and
They tore it down.
Yeah, they tore it down.
And now later,
Yeah, it's called the President now, and there was Lion's Head just behind it. It's a beautiful setting, you know. It's called the President Hotel, and they all those beautiful arches and things, and inside it had a ceiling like that, you know. It was beautiful. They pulled it down and built that President, you know. It's all so many thousands. Anyway.
Granny,
Yeah.
how did you and Grandpa Dick meet?
He came to, in those days, I worked for Shell, and in those days, Shell you could go anywhere in the world if you wanted to go and work for Shell, if you had the right qualifications and you wanted to, and you applied and so on. And we had a Dutch mechanical engineer, and each branch had one accountant, one mechanical engineer, one civil engineer, you know, blah, 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 blah. And this man was called Gerard Brains. He was as dour as they come, you know, he's absolute dour. He had no sense of humor whatsoever. And Gerard was going on home leave for 3 months to Holland, which were they entitled to if you work away from your own country. And here Grandpa Dick pitched, you know. And he had just come back from Egypt. He had about a 3-year assignment in Egypt, which was lovely, you know. He had servants and flats and all sorts of things. And he belonged to that expatriate club in the middle of the Nile River where they used to sail. It was all British, blah, blah, blah. And he used to wear these beautiful sort of like Tassa silk suits which you have made there. You know, in Egypt it was very, very odd. Beautiful silk suits and these beautiful shirts. And so, funny look. I wasn't used to that, you know. But anyway, he asked me out, and that's how it started.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Nothing. Well, you stayed as a fancy hotel, my dear. I don't go out as being stay at those hotel, you know. I mean, I didn't ever have boyfriends like that. We played hockey and we were just on the ground.
So where did you go? Like, what was or where was your like first date?
I think we went to watch cricket at St. George's Park. How is that?
He invited you to go.
Yeah, and he said, there's cricket on, let's go and see that. You know? And then he used to invite me to the King Edward Hotel where he stayed, which was very grand.
Yeah.
And I wasn't used to that sort of thing. I used to go there, and that's how it all started. And then he went back, and then he invited me down to Cape Town for the weekend.
How old were you when you met him?
I was quite on. It was my late 20s, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how long were you together before you got married?
Not very long. And I met all these friends, and I had friends down there anyway, because in Shell, you know, people get transferred and all that. In those days, actually, women weren't transferred, only men. I had to ask for a transfer down to Cape Town. In the end, I wanted to transfer, you see. So I was then working for the sales manager, and he's Jack Miller, and he said, Mr. Miller, you know, I think I want to, if it's possible, is it possible for me to get a transfer down to Cape Town, because I think, you know, this is serious. Dick and I think, are serious about this. And I don't know how I said it, I don't know. He said, okay.
Wow.
And he organised it for me, so I got a transfer. So I went down.
And where did you get married?
In Grahamstown, where my mother lived and my brother. My eldest brother was a teacher at the Victoria Girls High.
If you married in your late 20s, you weren't married before that at all?
No, nobody would have married me. I had nothing to offer. I had no money or anything. Just had a job.
But what made him different than other men that you might have met before that?
I don't think they're particularly interested, because all the girls that I mixed with a whole lot, they all had money, they had something to offer. I had nothing to offer. And I wasn't, you know, particularly what they wanted, I don't suppose.
But what made him a dick different for you?
For him?
No, for yourself.
Dick, because I'd never come across a man like that. I had 5 brothers and none of them had manners like he had anyway. And I always said to my mother, I never want to marry a Boer. I could have married a Boer across the river from where we lived, any time. Du Plessis, Ippie used to buy me watches and carry on, and one of his cousins told me.
What's his name?
Pardon?
What was this person's name?
Ippie Du Plessis, and he had Ippie, yeah.
Oh.
And then he had a cousin, another Du Plessis, no, these chaps used to, I could have married a farmer if I wanted to. But it wasn't just, I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to. I didn't want to marry a farmer.
So there was just no interest in them?
No, not really.
And what was your maiden name?
The beer.
The beer.
The beer consolidated. I wish I was,
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm seeing a connection now, the Kimberley Club, the beer.
Yeah, the beer
Yeah.
the beer's consolidated. It's still the Oppenheimers of the beers,
And how old were you when you got married?
I was in my 30s.
You were like
31 or 32, and Dick was 2 years older. Yeah, we were quite on.
And how old were you when you had Daddy?
33, I think.
Okay.
But when you get older and you get married, the adjustment is much easier. But Dick was an easier adjustment because he was a matured man,
Yeah.
And I could learn from him. All I wanted to do was learn to speak English properly, and I'd say, you don't say it like this, Lydia, it's like that, okay?
And did he ever speak, or did he understand Afrikaans?
Yes, of course, a little bit, yeah. My mother used to love, always say for a slaapkamer, she said a bedkamer. But I learned to speak English. I wanted to speak, and my family all said, oh, what is this thing she is? Say what for Engels and all that. But I wanted to learn to speak English.
So why?
Because I couldn't speak it properly.
Yeah.
I'm not that good, not like Dick did. And he used to correct me all the time and said, it's the way of speaking amongst people. People would come out to South Africa and you'd talk to them and say, when are you going back? So you would say, Dick said to my office, no, it's nicer if you say to them, how long are you staying? Okay? That sort of subtle things, they didn't really matter, but they're subtle and they're nicer and they're more polite, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
These people had a polite sort of a language, if you know what I mean. Not how long are you staying, said, when are you going back? How long are you staying?
Yeah. And do you think that you...
And he told me what to read, I read a lot of English, And I had actually before him, I had a boyfriend in Port Elizabeth, and they used to be big readers, and they used to also give me names of books, and I used to get it and read it, and I read and read and read.
So you read a lot in English?
Yes, I read a lot of English.
And then do you think you started speaking more English?
Yeah, of course. I never spoke Afrikaans. Yeah,
because
English.
Yeah,
and all our friends were English speaking too, but some of them Afrikaans, but bilingual. But what was I going to say to you now? It's you not think. I used to think in Afrikaans and translate it in English as I went along. Okay, in PE I started, But in the end, you get so used to it that you don't think in Afrikaans anymore. You speak English flat. And you said that Ruda Landman said it once on television too. She said, I used to speak like that. I used to think in Afrikaans, and as I went along, I translated it into English, and then you get together with the tenses, and you really get mixed up and all that. She said, but now I never ever think of Afrikaans anymore. I just speak English fluently without translating.
Maar jy lees tydskrifte en goed in Afrikaans?
Pardon?
Your magazines are Afrikaans?
Yes, but I prefer them to the English ones.
Yeah.
Because I learn more from it,
And you watch TV in Afrikaans also?
Yes, I watch TV in Afrikaans. You can never lose it.
It stays like a second.
Yeah, but after Dick died, of course, I got back into the Afrikaans more often. I find that I'm losing some of my English words and expressions, my good English words,
Because of your age, though. I don't think that's because of...
Yeah. Because, in the end, you express yourself so well, and I learned to speak English very, very well. And Dick always spoke good English, He couldn't stand people speaking rubbishy English. But anyway, there you are.
And what was...
And also their culture. I learned the English culture right through. Their culture is very different to Afrikaans culture in many, many ways,
Yeah, it's less rough. It's a bit, like you said, it's
more refined. More refined.
Yeah.
It's more refined and more organized, if you know what I mean.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more sort of,
history to it.
and you must never hurt other people's feelings, or you must always do it nicely, you know, you mustn't try and be inconsiderate. It's good manners. The basis of good manners is respect to everybody and everything around you. No, anybody can do that.
Yes.
Even a chap lying on the street, I mean, come on, doesn't cost you anything. Just have respect for space and all that. You know, that's why in the shops too, when these black people run around and they chase it, they carry on, I mean, it's abusing of other people's space. They're not your only people. I said to one day, you're not in your lounge now. You're in a shop. There are other people around. It's not your place to play.
Mm-hmm.
But their parents don't tell them, so they just carry on, you know. And it is rude. That's respect for other people's space. If there are other people, it is not your space alone. It is their space. So if you want to do that, go to your own house and go and do it there.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like morals are going in a different direction.
Yes, they are. Yeah. But the thing is, we're getting contaminated. Shall I tell you that? Mildly contaminated.
With other cultures. Or,
With a black culture, with a third world culture.
yeah.
I mean, a lot of them are very, very well behaved. You know, who was it the other night? You know, there's one black man, and he's always, Justice Moses something. You know what a gentleman he is? He's a great gentleman, and he's a black man.
Yeah. It's all about education as well.
Yeah, also education. When they received all these awards that day, there was a ceremony. They had all these different awards for people, and there was a big ceremony, and he received one, and he was charming. You know, Mosaneki, or Justice Mosaneki. Okay, he's very, very black. He's the one who handled the one with the dark people. You know, with the people who were all killed. You know, that they transferred. You know, the funny people in their heads, you know. Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, I've been recording everything.
Oh my God, yeah. And this Justice Mosaneki, and I thought.
Okay, but Granny, can you talk about Daddy and like what he was like as a child?
First,
And
we'll get to that. I just want to know, when were you born?
14th of August 1924. Why did you think people always ask me? Did I tell you when I had some front teeth you weren't seeing out there, I picked out, pulled out, I had to, and put a new plate in.
Oh yeah.
And I had this lovely little dental surgeon, they called something else. Most beautiful, very petite little girl, very Mediterranean looking, you know. Her father, she's Portuguese, she's Jose, and her name is Barushka.
Oh.
Barushka, what did it say the surname was? Jose. But she's married to an English-speaking guy, I think, because a real married surname is something else. And I went to her last year, when she also did pull some teeth out. The dentists don't do the serious jobs anymore, you know. The dental surgeon does it, you know. And she said, you know, last time you came, Mrs. Aldridge, I went home, I said to my husband, I saw the most incredible woman in my rooms today, you know. She's 93 years old, and she said, and today we're going to take a selfie. And she's got this beautiful little thing. She's got beautiful Mediterranean, it's not coloured, it's not black, it's beautiful, it's a Mediterranean. Because my mother had 3 different people. She was born in Morocco, and she had other people, so she said that sort of darkish complex, I said, very curly hair, but beautiful teeth, very, very beautiful. So my dear, she took a selfie with the 2 of us.
Wow.
So
I don't even take selfies, so that's quite cool.
Yeah, and I said to her, well, at last I'm a celebrity in my old age, Doctor, am I not?
So, also born in Grahamstown, or close to?
born in?
No, I was born in Oudtshoorn.
Okay.
Yeah, in a little Karoo, you know.
A big family, lots of siblings?
Yeah, we had I was just telling Adi the whole story, she doesn't even know it. My father was 29 years older than my mother when he married her. And he already had 5 children.
Okay.
And the last lot of children were then about 5 years old. They were twins, a boy and a girl. And he needed a governess for the 2. And she appeared from George. Actually, Fan Court. She grew up in Fan Court. It's still there.
Wow.
That house, Fan Court, was there when my mother was a
We have a
child.
golf course now. There's
Yeah,
that
right.
crazy golf.
There's a house there. People from England came out, apparently, and built that house, and it's still there. And that Blanco is in Blanco. Fan Court and Blanco is near to each other. And she must have, I know nothing about my father's family.
Okay.
And she came over to be governess for these two. And my father just sort of grabbed her and married her and had 8 children after that.
Wow,
and
so
I
you
was
have a lot of
and
children.
I was the eighth, yeah, but he already had 5 others.
Yes.
Some of them I was married already, I think, when I was born, or a little bit before I was. When she arrived on the scene, some of them were married already, some of her stepchildren.
Mm.
You see, because he was 29 years older than she was.
What was her maiden name?
The Swart,
The Swart.
yeah,
The Swart and the Beer.
yeah.
Okay.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And then he died, of course, he must have, I mean, he was in his early 70s when he died, and he had, what do you call it? Diabetes and gangrene in his leg. And the leg just rotted off here, and she nursed him at home and all that.
Didn't she chop off his
In
leg?
India, she did. She was able to chop.
She chopped it off.
Yeah, with a scissors. Oh, excuse me, was something. I was too small to remember, and it was sort of buried somewhere on the farm.
Oh no. Well, I mean, what would
All
they
I
do?
remember is that was when I looked at it, sort of, it always pitch black because the blood had all sort of stored in her.
Really?
Yeah, and in those days we had the doctor in Oudtshoorn, Dr. Clutie, and Dr. Clutie's children were all down in Cape Town, and I met them down there, and they could do nothing else for him, but he was obviously, he wasn't too obese, but that is what happened.
Oh.
And then he died of a stroke after that sometime. I think I must have been about 8 when he died.
And his name
Okay.
was? Johannes?
His name was Martinus Johannes.
To be.
Martinus Johannes.
And your mom? And your mom was?
Leah Jacoba.
L-E-A-H.
Yeah. Leah Jacoba.
And
But
was he a farmer or was
he was an ostrich farmer, but it was mixed farming. It was tobacco, lucerne, dairy. What else? Grapes, but he used to distill his own brandy on the farm, And that's it. I said lucerne. I remember the tobacco drying up to dry, and the lucerne and everything else, and the dairy. We used to milk the cows and separate the milk, and my mother used to make cheese and butter and stuff and take it into Oudtshoorn to the Jewish dealers, Mr. Green and Mr. Mochomowitz and all that crowd for coffee and tea and rice and sugar. Everything else was on the farm.
How far away was the farm to?
12 kilometers.
Oh, so it's very quite close.
Yeah, we had a Cape cart and horses,
Do you have any memories of your father?
Yes, I do, because I was telling Adi that I used to go into town sometimes quite often on his own, and he used to wear this lovely salt and pepper, we used to call it suit, and a lovely white shirt and a lovely stockinette tie. Stockinette is that lovely sort of thin material that comes back, now it's like woven like that, and the Hamburg, what the Hamburg hat is? Yes,
The round one?
No, it's a grey one always, like the Prime Ministers of England wore, with a black band round, and the brim came up a little bit like that, it's called a Hamburg,
Okay.
and people will know what they talk about. You don't know, but I'm telling you now. And he used to have a Gladstone bag. Now the Gladstone bags, Gladstone was also a Prime Minister of England sometime or other. It's got like a base like that. They make some of the women's bag like that now, and it comes up like that, and it's got like a little handle here. It's called a Gladstone bag. And he used to take his Gladstone bag with his papers and whatever it was in it, and he used to take sometimes a groom and sometimes not, and off he would go to Oudtshoorn to go and do his business, and the blacksmith in Oudtshoorn, he was Patterson, he was Bob Patterson. He was a friend of his, and he used to go and pick a Bob up, and he used to go to the pub and have a little bit of drinks. And he used to always bring a can of gin with him back. I don't know what he wanted to do with that, because he had the brandy at home, which he distilled himself. I have an idea he might have taken some of the brandy to old Bob, but anyway, And then he came back, but I can see him quite often. My mother used to put on his tie for him, and then lovely leather boots, and these little things on the side where they came up, laced up right to here, you know. So you couldn't see his socks when he wore the suit.
So he was quite a gentleman
Yes.
himself.
Oh yes, oh yes. He wasn't a boo, sort of
Yeah.
booty, you know. He looked very, very gentlemanly like when he went into Oudtshoorn. That's what I can remember about him.
Okay, interesting. And then your direct siblings from your mother as well. How many? You were 8.
We were 8, and he had 5 from his first marriage.
Yes.
Okay.
And when were you? Were you born?
The second last.
I was second last of the last 8.
Of the last 8. Okay. And do you have? Are any of them still alive? Do you have contact with them?
No, they've got children, but I haven't got any contact with them.
Okay.
Because they were much older than me.
Yes.
You must now know. Some of them were married, as I told you. When I was a little girl of 6, 7 or 8. They were married with their own children and all that. I know some were living in Rustenburg. Yeah. I had contact with them, I know who they are. Marianne also knows who they are. Marianne lives in Waterkloof.
And we have contact with Diona and them.
Yeah, but those are my brothers, the second lot. And they've all gone too, by the way. I've had, what did I say, I had 5 brothers. And they've all gone. The last one died, he was 94, he's just above me. He died in Port Elizabeth. Last year something. So they've all gone, I'm the only one. And often now I think, my God, I wanted to know about them. Remember old so-and-so living up the road? And there's nobody to ask. Because they've all gone. So...
And did you have a younger sister?
No, I had a younger brother, Piet. Right. And he was killed in an accident in Cape Town. He had a farm. He had a chap called Crew. Where there were grapes and all that, and fruit. And it was... and chickens. It is called Kekel and Kraai. There was their brand that they used to sell in Cape Town, Kekel and Kraai. But anyway, one evening they were coming from some party on a farm. He and his wife and this other couple, and they were driving through Swillen Dam, sort of style. And you know they have these long trucks that you have the milk trucks here. They have wine trucks down there, and this wine truck was driving in front of them, and they wanted to go along. The wine truck wanted to turn right, and I don't know what happened, but he turned right, and they weren't aware of the fact that he was turning right. Whether he didn't have his sign out or what, I don't know, but they went into it. And he was sitting in front next to the driver here, and when one of my brothers then was a policeman in Paarl, and he had to go identify the body in the mortuary, and he said he thinks that his neck was broken immediately because his neck was tremendously swollen. So I suppose he hit this wine truck on the side like that. And the others all lived, you know. They were not... It's just after Dick and I moved back to Cape Town. I was telling Eddie when we retired, we were still up here. They transferred us up here, and they left us up here for 18 years. And when we retired, we said we want to go back home. We're not Gautengers. We're going home to Cape Town. And that's what we did. So it's just after we moved down there. The funeral was in Paarl. Yeah, I think it was in Paarl. And that was very, very sad, you know. But none of the others, I think his wife was still in a wheelchair. But he just disappeared, and that was Piet gone, you know. He has 2 sons. They must be down there, Anton and Pierre. And they're in Paarl somewhere, you know. I've lost contact with them.
De Beer.
De Beer, yeah. He was Piet de Beer. Piet de Beer van Lekker Draai. Ek is op Poppige saai.
Can you talk about your life growing up on the farm and your childhood memories growing up?
Well, as I told you that...
Like, what was it like? And
well, it was a free life, you know. Our mother didn't, you know, you must remember my mother was a widow now, and she had all these children to look after. My eldest brother, Sabrant, he was a big help. And then I had a brother in standard 8, and he was taken out of school to come and help on the farm, you see. And it was mixed farming, and it was a lot of work. It was dairy, it was lucerne, it was tobacco, it was ostrich, it was mixed farming. You know, the ostriches weren't so popular in those days anymore, but we had some, and we still sold some of the feathers. And I remember they used to get like a Jewish peddler used to come along in his little cart, because they call him Aldridge. And as children, we used to just pick up all the little feathers and put it in a little bunch, and we used to sell it to him when he called, you know, for a penny a bunch.
What was his name? Can you remember maybe?
Mr. Boerbites, I don't know, it was probably another name, but there was Bogolovich and Boer something, and we just called him Boerbites, you know, sort of. And you know, we even had policemen coming out on horseback, you know, to patrol through the farms and all that, you know, with these riding boots and everything else, and I see helmet. No, it was a long time ago.
But it was always safe.
Oh yes. And remember, we grew up with coloureds. We never have had any blacks around. I grew up with coloured people, so I don't really understand the blacks all that much.
Yeah.
But I remember that if there's a black man going down the road, you know, walk down, we all said, oh, wie is nie pas.
Yeah.
So because we didn't, we knew the colours,
And the colours were all Afrikaans. I mean.
Yeah, oh yes, they didn't know about things. They didn't go to school. There was no schooling for the, what do you call it, compulsory schooling for the children. They stayed at home. They all went and worked on the farms. And I think I told one little, I mean, there's so many episodes. One evening we had a black man called Armand. Now, what was he doing? He was on the farm. Very, very black, but he was a coloured man. And he, obviously, my mother had a couple of kitchen maids there, and very obviously, he was involved with one of his kitchen maids. I think Couture was her name. And that was long after my father died. And that evening, so fairly late, there was a knock on the front door. And my mother went out, and we thought, oh, spring allemaal in die bed gaan, kyk wat gaan aan, jy weet, what could that be, you know? I mean, it's so quiet on the farm. And it was Armand's. And my ma said, ja, Armand's. He said, Mrs. ek het nou net Couture doodgekap met 'n bylie onder in die bos.
No.
But they were kind of dating or seeing each other.
I don't know where they lived. They had an affair with where they lived and all that, you know. But Armand's obviously had a wife and Couture had a husband, but there must have been something. I mean,
so they weren't really.
You didn't know that much about their private lives, you know, more or less, because you.
And then, Granny.
And then afterwards, I thought to myself, I wish I could remember what happened afterwards. Now, can you imagine my mother in a situation like that? We were sort of that size, and my brothers were at college at Oudtshoorn or at boarding school or anything like that. And here he is standing like that.
Yeah.
He said, and I remember it was a moonshine evening. God, there is the, Mrs. Ek het nou net vir Couture doodgekap met die bylie onder in die bos.
And he wasn't drowned?
No.
Wow. And
See how uncontrolled they are?
Wow. But then he came to you guys and he confessed in a way. But
I told my mother, what she did about that, I wouldn't know. I wish I knew.
Did you ever see him again?
Yes, he was on the farm. I'm trying to think what happened after that. She must have reported that. She would have reported to the police. We didn't have a phone even. Maybe she went up to Duiselsdorp in those days. And it still is Duiselsdorp, but it's all coloured now. And what happened, you know, I cannot think, and I can't now. My brothers weren't there. It's just my younger brother and I. The others were all at boarding school, obviously, you see.
Yeah.
And we would sort of littlies at home still.
Wow.
And I don't know what happened. How she could, I suppose there must have been some way of reporting it.
Yes, probably to the there was probably a police
that I could have gotten hold of, a telegram or whatever, I don't know.
He probably had been drinking.
Yeah, maybe he had, but I can't remember, but I remember that, isn't it funny, it's so well, as she opened the door and Lydia was saying, I said, ja, Armand, what is it?
That's so
She said, ek het nou net vir Couture doodgekap met die bylie onder in die bos.
And what about,
But I wish I knew what had happened afterwards. I don't know. I really just didn't know. I don't know. I can't recall it. What happened after that? It obviously was trauma. But that's the sort of thing that she had to handle, you see, on her own.
Yeah.
She had to handle the farm and all that. And that is why I wonder where Ati was, because he came home onto the farm to come and help with the farming, you know. There was a lot of work. I mean, she used to make butter, and milk had to be, cows had to be milked, there had to be separated the milk, you got to let the cream get ripe. She used to get to make the cheese and the butter and all sorts of things. And she used to take it all into town.
Did she stay on the farm for a long time?
She went on and on until everybody had left, until she was there alone. And this one half brother of mine, who was a teacher at one of the schools, and he lived across the way then when he got married. You know, they were there. You know, but she didn't often see them. She always had a pet or something. But she was very much on her own in the end. You know, but who could foresee that? You know, because everybody was away, doing other things away.
Interesting. It sounds like in your family there's a tendency to want to travel.
I don't know so much, you know. We didn't even, in those days, we didn't think so much of travelling. We were too poor. I mean, there wasn't enough money. Only the very rich people could do that, you know, and we weren't rich. We didn't think of travelling at all. I mean, it's the last, I never ever can remember that anybody said they wanted to go abroad or anything.
Okay.
Because we just knew that was impossible. And the young people also didn't used to travel such a lot either, really. Only the very, very rich people.
When did your mom die?
Now you ask me, I'm not quite sure. When Daddy was at boarding school, she died.
But she was 94 when she died. Yeah.
Yes, I'm not sure of that either. I saw very little of her in my later part of life, you know. Because my eldest brother and I had a big tiff, and I won't go into that with you, you know. And she, although he did quite a lot, he helped her to raise and get some of us educated. But he was a sort of a bit of a go-getter, and he was the sort of Afrikaans guy that I really didn't like, you know. But anyway, he lived in Grahamstown.
How did she die eventually?
She was just sick. I never went to see it.
But in Grahamstown as well?
No, she was in a retirement village in Mossel Bay, and then she came over to Oudtshoorn, I think.
Oh. Okay.
But she was also staying with him for a while, you know. And he was teaching at the Victoria School for Girls, and so...
Did Daddy know her? Did Dad know her?
Who? My mother?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did when he was a little boy like that, and he didn't see her again. But I'm just trying to think now. She had, when she lived in Grahamstown, she lived there for a while, before she went into the retirement village. And she had some very nice friends there. There was one girl, you probably won't remember, and I don't think it's all there. The books for the blind that Auntie Bridget is now reading, you know. Now, what was her name? Was she Bubbles or Beulah? There was a library for these books, like I used to run the film library in Shell in Cape Town. You had these books and you circulated them all over South Africa to the people who were blind, who could only listen to the books. What do you call those books that you listen to?
Audio books.
Audio books, yeah. And Andre Brink was then there. He was still he was lecturing at Rhodes.
Yes.
No, it's quite a sort of like a educational centre. It's predominantly. It was always, not anymore. There are lovely farmers around the place. There were the pineapples and all that. But it was more than educational because the big schools are there. You know, the Afrikaans schools, there's St. Andrews, there are quite a few other private schools, there's some Afrikaans schools and all that. And of course Rhodes was always there. And there was a lovely cathedral. And what was I going to tell you now? So my mother lived there for a while, and this girl, this lady was running this library, were great friends. She was a lovely, lovely person. But they were sort of intellectuals, it was more an intellectual environment, actually, in Grahamstown at that time.
Yes.
But my brother was a great intellectual. He was only a teacher because Andre Brink was something else. But Andre was there then. I know he lived down the road.
Okay.
And because he was lecturing he's a professor or whatever he was at Rhodes. Okay.
Can you tell us more about life, like living on the farm and your brothers, and doesn't they used to gang up on you and stuff?
Well, they were all at boarding school, Adi. We went to boarding school after standard 6, like they still do in the country. I mean, the country boarding schools are full, because they're farmers, and once they finish the standard 6, they go to boarding school in the cities. There's some wonderful schools in the country, boarding schools, huge boarding schools, and with the locals. And from Joburg, I know some people send them to now. There are quite a few that are quite popular and very, very good in the country, boarding schools. But so you have, actually St Andrews was the same. There was a lovely collection of farmers' boys there. You know, it was predominantly a boarding school. I think it was about a dozen day scholars when Chester went there.
Okay.
Yeah. The others came from all around, so the headmaster said he always loved it because it was a lovely collection, and the boys came from Cape Town, you know, from Port Elizabeth, from all over, and from the farms. And then they were all mixing together. You got a lovely mixture of country boys and a few local boys and boys from other cities. Boys from Rhodesia. Daddy had a friend from Salisbury, and another one whose father came from in the middle of Africa somewhere. Boys from the middle of Africa from all over because it was a good school. Yeah, yeah. Their fathers used to fly in and bring them down to school, okay, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
And so it was a lovely mixture there.
Tell me, you grew up in a predominantly Afrikaans environment.
Yes, absolutely. Dutch Reformed. Yeah. You mustn't think we had a church there.
Yeah.
Nobody, if you're going to go there once a month or once every 3 months, a Dominie came, and there weren't a lot of people, a couple of dozen, but there was this beautiful church built there with beautiful wooden pews and everything else just standing there. My mother used to have to look after it, you know, and little organ that she used to play the organ there, you know, the foot organ and all that.
Are you religious?
No.
Not religious.
No.
Was that ever something you consciously chose, or did it just fade away?
No, it just put me off. I mean, like lots of people, a lot of Dutch Reformed people, I don't know about you. Are you a dopper?
No, I'm not.
You're not a dopper, yeah. Yeah, but Dutch Reformed people, they don't go anymore. I mean, just to put that as a real turn-off. I mean, it was, we used to go in our little Sunday school clothes, you know, I can remember that. Little three-quarter socks and a beautiful little dress and a little hat and all that. And you sit in the front here, all the children in a boot still sit, and that Dominie sitting up there, Dominie Burger, and he had nothing to say to you whatsoever, God, and you sat and you weren't allowed to smile, you know, or do anything. And the servants were in, you didn't know what it was all about, but you had to go and sit there. They didn't take any notice. He didn't take any notice of you.
Yeah.
And what you said had to happen, you know, the people it had to happen. You know.
When would you say did you stop going to church?
Oh, long time. And Dick always says he was a bush Baptist. You know.
Bush Baptist.
And you know, his father even, and he was an old man, he read this lovely book. After that book, I just realized that we're all just going to die like dogs, like animals, you know.
Which book?
Pardon?
Which book?
He's a well-known writer. I keep on forgetting his name. He was very well read, old Grandpa Aldridge, you know. He said, I just realized, you know, that, I mean, we're all just going to die like animals, you know. Nothing's going to happen here after all that. And they never went to church, you know. But they were very good people. I mean, they lived the right way, they did everything the right way. And if it was necessary, you might go to church, but they certainly weren't religious people.
Richard Dawkins.
No, and further, this man's been long dead, man. It's when the great intellectuals were still alive. He even came on a boat to Cape Town. If I think of that book, I'll tell you, it's well known. Most intellectual people have read it. Anyway, I should really write it down.
Was there ever a conscious decision from your side to not be Afrikaans? And what about Afrikaans culture did you not really like?
I thought it was a little bit sort of grobberig, you know, It was a little bit coarse. It wasn't quite sort of like what I thought it should be, you know. I just always had a feeling it must be a little bit smoother, you know. I'd like something smoother. And well, I could see from my brothers, you know, that it wasn't quite what I wanted, you know.
But they were all more Afrikaans culture.
Yeah, they were all Afrikaans, very Afrikaans.
Oh.
Not that there was anything wrong with them, some of them were very nice, but the culture altogether just didn't suit me. I didn't like the culture. I felt I didn't want
I don't know if it's still like that.
No, it's not anymore. No, but
it's not really.
It wasn't that rough, you know, but it just wasn't.
It can be, but I think generally not so much anymore. Obviously, it depends on.
No, they've come a long way. We're talking about a long time ago.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Developed.
Yeah. And I started work in Port Elizabeth, and then Port Elizabeth was predominantly more English and Afrikaans. I mean, it's the settlers landed there, right? Okay. And the whole of the Eastern provinces are full of settlers, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was more, and that I liked, you know. And not that the Afrikaners were all that rough, but it just didn't was what I wanted, you know. It just, but anyway, there you are in the end, and I didn't ever think of I'm going to find anybody, and it didn't really bother me much, you know, because I had nothing to offer except me.
Yeah.
You know?
As it should be.
Yeah. No, I didn't have money or inheritances or
Granny,
big homes to take my boyfriends to or anything like that.
what's your favorite childhood memory, if you have?
What would it be? I can't think. Well, it was just very
If you have.
normal. I didn't think there was anything, except when I got a new pair of shoes, you know.
Yes, girl.
Yeah, it was.
That's still exciting today. Nee.
My mother would go to town, you know. I was telling her and also she used to make all my brother's clothes in khaki, and you must now know that there were no zips in those days, they were elastic. She made a proper fly.
I think you've always had an eye for style.
Yeah, I
even
always
when
had.
you were a kid.
That real fly
Farm.
and all the buttonholes in it, which had to be done by hand because you didn't have a machine to do it. And she used to even take some of those sometimes to take to the Baywoner's wife to make it and pay her for it, you know.
Yeah.
She made all their clothes by hand on a machine like this, you know.
Where did they get time for it?
And she was running a farm. And I don't know how she did. And she kept what I forgot to tell you, the pound. You know what a skit is in Afrikaans? It's a skit.
A pound. A dog pound.
No, or a donkey pound. The colours donkeys are forever running around and whatever it was. And then if you find that on your property, you take it to the pound and everything else, you make money, you know. And I mean, it just was sort of like we lived subsistence life on the farm, you know, and we lived off the farm. The jam, the honey, you know, we hated honey. Used to get it out of, you know, in a big thing, and she used to put it on the stove and get the stuff to run out, and from the wax they made straw polish, and God, they made everything from normal things, you know, and it just was, and jam, everything, as I say, anything we didn't have on the farm is coffee and tea and rice and things that you couldn't grow on the farm. Otherwise, everything. The jams were made in the summertime, you know. The fruit was sort of put in jars, and there was a whole row of jars. The bread, you name it, you know. Flour, of course, we bought, but it was all made on that farm. And she made the stuff to take in to the juice in town, you know, to be exchanged for the coffee and the tea and the sugar and the rice and the things that you put on the farm. So I grew up without any synthetic stuff in my food.
Processed food.
It was no processed food. It was nice and clean and absolutely pure. No matter how you hated it, but there you are, you had to. And also, you know, the pigs slaughtered at the same time as a sheep or an ox or whatever, and they made lovely sausages and things, and that lovely, you know, I was asking somebody, do you know what pig's fat is? You know, pig's fat, uitgebraaide vet, is very much smoother than sheep's fat. The sheep toe fat is lovely and smooth, you know, and you have a lovely fresh slice of bread and that lovely pig's fat and some honey on the top of it.
It's not something we know at all.
No, you know it all, but it's lovely, you know. Pig's fat is lovely and smooth, nearly like butter, you know. All that, well, sheep's fat has got like korreltjies, you know, it's got little korreltjies in it, you know.
And what was... didn't you used to fight with your brothers, with your siblings?
Yeah, well, they used to kick me around and they wanted to, you know, and then run off, and that was okay. Can you believe it? And and I know on the land when they cut the corn, you know, that was another thing. Corn used to be cut. Now, what did they cut? It wasn't a strooper anyway. It was it by hand? Yeah, it was sickle.
Sickle,
yeah. And it's so high, so now they want to play cricket. They put up stumps and things when they started going to boarding school. And ons gaan nou cricket speel, okay? And then they used to let me do all the dirty job always, you know. And in the end, I don't want to play anymore and cried and ran off, you see what I mean? And then in the evening, your legs from all the scratches from all the things, you know, burnt when you washed your feet, you know, we didn't bath and, you know, we washed it in a basin, our feet and all that. But they were pretty rough, you know, they just treated me like they treat everybody else. I mean, what do they know?
Boy.
There was no respect particularly, you know. I don't think they were ever taught to have respect for a girl, you know. We were just all boys, and if you're not a boy, you just get out, you know, to the style. And they got away with it.
When you think about yourself now at that age, 18-ish, how have you changed?
Oh, God.
What type of person were you at 18?
I knew nothing about life or anything at all. I was at boarding school and then I went to commercial school, you know. I mean, I just knew about playing sport. I loved sport.
Okay.
That's when the thing I look most forward to, most people to the sports board to see, oh, am I in the first hockey team? When am I playing? You know, it's for the style, you know, I was always keen.
And what did you play at sport?
Yeah.
Didn't I show you? I've got that picture of me with my hockey stick, you know. I played netball and I played anything that there was, and I ran and I did everything in the sport world. I tried, you know, I played it all, you know, whether I was good or not, and I was fairly good. I wasn't outstanding, but I was fairly good, you know, and I always got a good position. I was satisfied with it, you know. But I played sport all my life. I loved it, you know, because I was so neglected, you know, emotionally and all that. Nobody ever made a fuss with me. It's the only way people can. I'm somebody, you know. I can play a bit of sport.
And you play. You've got colours.
Yes, and then when I grew up, I joined.
Hockey?
I played Eastern Province colours for hockey.
Wow.
I went to a tournament in Rhodesia, and I got colours. What did I do with a blazer? I had a blazer, broad black and red stripes. I threw that out. And then when I moved down to Cape Town, I was still playing hockey. Grandpa Dick always used to laugh. He came and watched one of my hockey matches in Port Elizabeth.
Wow.
And there I played on the left wing and I was running through. And I don't know what I did, but I overran and I just about outside the line of the hockey field. But anyway, I went down and I joined the Gardens Hockey Club in those days. There were two sisters running it, and then I got into that was another story in Eastern Province because they were very good hockey players. There were Springboks in the team and all that. I got into the second string Western Province, and we had white blazers with lovely slipper. So I played nice hockey, and I've achieved something. You know? I wanted to achieve, and I liked sport.
And you played golf for a
And then I started
time?
golf. I couldn't play until after I got married, after Daddy was born, and we were then in Port Elizabeth. Okay, our first transfer after he was born there, and then when he was about 3 or 4, I said to him, I think I must go and join a hockey club. He said, Lydia, hockey is a schoolgirl's game. We'll get you a couple of sticks, go and learn how to play golf with Wally Hine, you know, on the hill golf course, and that's what I did.
And you played forever?
And then I played forever.
And you played up until you were like 80, what?
Yeah, I played even wherever I went. I mean, if you got to join a golf club,
How old were you when you stopped, Granny?
Pardon?
How old were you when you stopped playing golf? 88
God,
or something?
I must have been 80 in my 80s, you know. I just got too much here, 80, and I came back here.
Yeah, because
So
I remember you took me and William to the driving range once, and you taught us how to hit the ball and stuff, and I was useless.
You know, when
William could do it.
As I told you, we went down home to Cape Town, and there Daddy was a member at Mowbray. You know, it was sort of like, say, his father was a member. The men all, you join the golf club, whether you can play good golf or not. Golf is a thing like you can play it on any standard. You can play at your standard, you can play at good standard, it all depends. And you can see how you want to get better. If you don't want to get better, some people never will get better because they haven't got real sort of like timing. You've got to have a little bit of timing. Some people have a lot, all these professionals, they have great timing. Make no mistake, you know.
Yeah.
And then you go down, you've got a little bit of timing. But anyway, you can play it on any level. It doesn't matter, you know. So then we went down, and when did that happen? I'm trying to think. I joined Mowbray. Well, let's start there. And when we went down, and then already I was at 12, I think. And they are very sort of like Grandpa Dick was a member there too. He was about an 18 or a 19. He would never have gotten better. He hasn't got much time, but he enjoyed it. He played with his friends and all that. That's fun. But I wanted to get better. And golf is a game you can see how you're getting better, but you must put a bit of extra work in it, you know. I had lessons, and I went down on the morning. I bought a couple of buckets of balls, you know. You get yourself a caddy and you hit and you hit and you try out and so on. And then you can see you've got to keep put your cards in, so many cards and all that, and they assess your handicap all the time according to what you bring in on competition days, you know. There's competition days, and every other game that you play seriously, in any other game you must bring it and give it in, and they assess it, they work it out, the committee and all that. And so down I go, and then now I'm playing, I'm now 12, and I'm looking for an extra game during the week sort of style, over and above your Tuesday, which is your competition day. Oh no, but I couldn't get in because they're all in Cape Town. We've been playing together so long, you know, this is outside competition day. We've been playing together these 4 balls for 25 years, you know, and da. I said, okay. So now they gave me, oh, ask so-and-so. So when I asked so, before I knew anybody, asked so-and-so, mind you, she plays off at 22. I thought, come on, man, I wouldn't mind doing it, but why should I do it? I'm at 12. I'm going to stand here, you know, and she's playing 10, take 10 shots to get into the green. I'm playing 1, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I mean, it just isn't on. Occasionally, I was telling somebody the other day, these young people, they were talking about, if you've got a grey head, everybody ignores you. I had a lovely lady, actually that was in the Durban days, old Marge, and said, you know, these young people never want to play with us anymore. I said, Marge, I'll play with you one day, I'll make a point, you know. And I'd make time, and I'll take her with Marge is at 25, and I'm now 12. And I'll go with Marge because I like her and she's my friend and I wanted to do it. You see what I mean? Sort of, but I wouldn't do it by choice, really, because it's no good for my golf. You see, I wanted to get better, you see. I want to bring my handicap down, and that isn't good for you because you want to play on your level. But not always. You don't have to, because in the competition days they have sometimes lovely competitions. They make different competitions with, say, a 25 handicap and a 10 handicap, or an 80 handicap and a 9 handicap, or maybe not even that. The 9s are now on a different level because they don't even want to play in that. But then you get scored because they get extra points on the holes, you know, because they come many shots. If it's a 5 bogey and they get 2 or 3 over, they can get a point. But you got to play that 5 of a low handicap because you don't get a point. Okay.
Sorry, you just said when Durban days.
Yeah,
did you stay in Durban as well?
Yeah, we did in Durban as well. You know, we were transferred from Port Elizabeth to Durban to here.
Okay.
So I played there as well. I played at, it's on the coast. But you play, if you join a golf club, you play at all the competitions in the different clubs, you know. You played country club, you played wherever. Because there's league, I played league, you see, that's another thing. You get to know all these girls from the other. And Grandpa Dick always used to say, you ask Lydia when we looked up here to do a tour, you know, and she doesn't know how to get there, but you say, will you play golf at Germiston or somewhere? Then Lydia knows how to. She'll be there. Because you've got to go find your place at all these different, I've played all these different clubs up here, you know. Glendale, Germiston, Makofle, you know, Makofle is like there on the Vaal River, you know. You name it, I've played there, you know.
Did you ever, when you were like, before you went out of the house, did you think of doing sport professionally, or did
No, I wasn't good enough for that.
Is it? Did you have other ambitions? Maybe you had like a dream back then of, I want to be that one day.
No, I just wanted to play good golf so I can so I was somebody, I could prove myself. I was somebody, you know, I was accepted, you know, wherever I went, because I had somebody. And I had 2 holes in one, by the way, during my golfing career.
2 holes, okay.
2 holes in one. One in Royal Cape and one up here at Royal where I was a member.
Wow.
And I was also a member at Harden.
Wow, that's good.
But you see,
that's
the
an
thing
older
is,
class,
I didn't have any ambitions of any. I didn't have that sort of talent. I wasn't good enough. I remember I started late to play golf. Huh? If you are going to good like this, the kids start at 12, 13, 14. By the time they get to 20, 25, 30, they are experts.
Yeah.
And they have wonderful timing. I mean, they just know there's talent there. I didn't have particular talent, but they had a little bit of talent. And I just wanted to prove myself that I'm somebody.
Mm.
But lots of people aren't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think that that's part of why you're so healthy now? Because you are
Yeah, I think so.
active.
Yeah, old people, oldies, I said you must, even if you just walk, you know, stay active. Don't sit in a bunch, you know. You must walk, you must move. You must move, don't just sit.
I'm hearing my knees creaking when I'm standing up. Like, oh.
You must move. You must move a little bit. That's why I say I'm so glad I'm independent, because that is just keeping me going.
Yeah.
If I want anything, I haven't got anybody to ask, and I won't ask anybody unless I know them well, you know, for favours. I go to the doctor, I go to the dentist. That's what Lee said to me one day. Granny, what do you do all day? I said, well, Lee, you must, Grandpa Dick used to do that with people. If they ask you a foolish question, give them a foolish answer and show them. I said, well, the dentist comes to my house, the doctor comes to my house, the groceries come to my house, you know, the gardener comes to my house, everybody comes to my house. I just sit here and it just all happens around. So that's how busy I am. So then she's...
But why should you be busy anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's as busy as I want to be.
Yeah.
But I find that I will not one day just sit here the whole day and think, oh, well, I'm bored. I can't be bored. Even if I don't go out there, I get dressed in the morning, I dress myself properly, I have my hair combed, I always look good when I go outside. But during the day I get so busy here, I haven't had time to go out. I was going to go down to here to have something done to the crossing or to Lani or somewhere. And I've never got around to it. So I miss in my cupboard tonight, do this, I do that, I get missed in the garden a little bit. And the next thing, it's afternoon.
Do you find yourself sleeping less now?
Yeah, when you get older you do. Most definitely, yeah. It's a nuisance, but you
Is
do.
it?
Yeah.
What time do you go to bed usually?
Well, I never try to fall asleep before half past 10 or 10.
But now
Not
you go
even
to
10,
bed.
half past 10, you know.
But now
Otherwise,
you go to bed much earlier.
yeah, but I don't fall asleep straight away. I either read or I listen to the radio, and I see that I don't want to fall asleep before, preferably 11 o'clock, because by the time 6 o'clock comes, I'm awake now. And you must know that I still go to Kalanetics every day. Twice a week, I get up at 7. That's okay. But otherwise, you get up and you think, God, what now? You do sleep less. Most definitely.
Kalanetics? What's this?
It's Kalanetics, it's an exercise. It's like...
So it's like yoga or Pilates.
yeah,
but
Pilates.
it's like much
yeah.
slower.
Yeah, but you don't jump up and down. And all the young people,
like
or people who don't like going to the gym, they come there.
Okay.
So you still exercise.
You're still exercising and you've
At
got
9 to
movements,
3.
and it's very, it's lovely because you can get the same benefit from this exercise, and you can do it in four different ways. Okay. And she demonstrates everything that you do there.
And that also helps with being
and also
flexible
socially,
and
I meet lovely young people, lots of young people, you know, aches and pains with bad husbands, with nice husbands, with children, with, and a couple of older people and so on. It's like a social people where you meet people. And I think a lot of people, I was saying to my instructor the other day, you know, Janice, a lot of people come and go over all these years, you know, I've been going there. And people come and you think, now what do you think she's looking for? They're either perhaps lonely, and I think people say to them, why don't you go, you know, they're sort of people who don't know what to do with themselves, who don't motivate themselves. Why don't you go and join the Kalanetics or whatever, you know, sort of stuff. And they come there and all their lovely new stuff and everything else. You can see they're bored already, you know, with all this brand new stuff. You don't have to, you have to have a pair of gym shoes, and you can wear anything you like and a towel, you know. And you go there, you don't go there to show off. And who wants to go into, I have never been inside this is smell alone. In Lonely, you go to the shops and you a whole lot coming and going there, black, white, pink, green, you know, and you get that whiff of a gym coming out. And I said, no,
You've never been to a gym, hey?
No, I haven't been. I don't have to, huh? I mean, and I do my Kalanetics is absolutely fine. And when I stopped playing golf, you know, I thought, God, this is getting a bit much, you know. I had to get up very early and go to join Dainfern. It cost a fortune. And I thought, well, now, do I want to carry on? This was a hell of an expensive. And Jess said to me, you know how much $1 round of golf costs you playing at that club? I said, yes, I know. You know what? I'm going to stop. But I must do something.
Yeah. We have to stay
So I
active.
stopped and I saw Dennis had flyers in a letterbox or somewhere. And I saw that. It's a municipal place down here. It's where anybody can go. They have meetings, they have boardroom, they have all sorts of things. It's a huge home and it's a municipal recreation centre. Okay. And Janice teaches there. I think she pays them for the space. And there you have anything that you can get. You get what people want to do. And people come there for it's getting a little bit third world, but anyway, it doesn't matter. And I go there and she's there every day, an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, and you go there and you do that, and it's actually lovely. And it's also nice with people, you know, if things won't work, you know, when my telephone, I can't get my phone to work, and they say, oh, won't you help me with this? And they'll show you, come today, we'll show you, and so on. You know, it's nice to be a little bit social with other people.
You spoke about meeting younger people now. So I want to ask you a very important question.
Yeah. Why is it important?
Because, I'm turning 27 this year.
Yeah.
So
you're a very young 27, a very unsophisticated 27.
Well, thank you. I've heard it. I'm young a lot. I'm younger than I should be.
No harm in that.
But what I want to know is, what advice can you give me, or any person our age, looking back at your own life now?
Well, I can't really give you advice because I was so sort of like naive and simple at your age.
But
I knew absolutely nothing. I mean, I grew up, I had to learn everything the world pushed you around, you know, the ups and downs, and I had no armament or because my mother never taught me. Nobody taught me about life and what's going to come and everything else. I was never taught anything. But if you knew
then what you know now, Granny?
Well, I would just say, you know, you'll have to take the ups and downs. You know, it'll come. I was telling Adi, like, you know, can't be expecting something. You must never think that that things are really just as they look, as they seem to be. You must always be prepared and think, now, I wonder how that's going to work out. Don't have stars in your eyes about anything, because it's not going to work out like that always. Most times it doesn't. It's not what you think it's going to be, even with people. You know, I found that too. So just be prepared for anything. Go slowly, don't rush into things, and don't ape other people, just be yourself. Don't always listen to what other people say. It doesn't always work out for you. And you, I mean, I can only say that life will give you the sort of experience that you need. Life, and I'm afraid life isn't very nice always. It'll toss and turn, and you will think, oh God, what now, you know, and that's life. You'll have to, I mean, that is what makes you grow up, and I call it the university of life. That is what's going to happen to you. Some of the speed bumps are higher than others, some of them are big, you know, some of them are low, you know, but they'll be there, whether you like it or not. That's life. Whoever said that life isn't going to be like that? And that's with marriages too. Whoever said you get married, my husband always used to say, that is when life really starts, when you get married.
Okay.
Or plus.
Would you recommend for people like our age, get married definitely?
I wouldn't know if you're ready for it, if you're not ready for it. And also, you grow up, actually, you must never stop growing. You grow all the time, you know. And if you get married very young, that's okay. You're prepared to work at it, both of you. If you don't together grow at the same level, the one goes, whoo, and that's where the divorce will start. Now, what, you know, the one, you won't grow at the same level unless you must work at it. Marriage is a job of work.
Okay.
So what
it's a partnership.
What, like, marriage or relationship advice can you give us?
Well, you must try. I think I was lucky getting married because Grandpa Dick was a much more experienced man in life. You must remember he'd been fighting a war. He left.
First or second?
Second World War.
Second World War. It was now 80 years ago. I always watch the remembrance service at the Cenotaph in London every year. These children never wanted to do it, but I watch it. It's I must say, for the Brits, you know, those traditions go on and on and on, and that's why their children every day aware of it. They're aware of all these things. We people aren't, because we're not really interested, you see. But what was I telling you now? That when the war, now when did it stop? But it's a long time
45.
ago. Where's that picture? Show him the pictures when of Dick and his two friends when they came back after the war. They'd already fought a war for 7 years, and there they're sitting, they look like you do. The picture of David Mackenzie and all that crowd. It's lying there quite open. These three chaps have already fought a war, and they're now back. They're sitting in front of the Queen's Hotel on the stoop, okay? Go to the light here, by the window. Okay?
He's in the middle one.
They're 20s, they're your age. Yeah, they're your age. They've already fought a war in England for 6 or 7 years. And one was a prisoner of war, by the way.
We quickly show it to the camera.
They're sitting on the stoop of the Queen's
It's not
Hotel.
There you go.
And that Queen's Hotel belonged to these two young men's grandfather. He was Sir David Harris, their grandfather. They are dirty, filthy, stinking rich. But they had professions. David has now died. He was
Did he ever talk about his experience in the war?
not a lot, except where they went to Reykjavik, they went over to Australia, they went to all that area up there.
And
I'm
he
sorry,
was
no,
in
we
the
didn't.
Navy, eh?
He was in the Navy. He was
The
an
Royal Navy.
aircraft carrier, yeah.
And what did he do on the ship?
He was an officer, he used to be up standing on the deck at night, that's why his legs went so funny. And he was saying that in the North Sea it was so cold, when these huge storms and the waves come over, they were huge, huge, huge. He said as they came over the deck of the ship, they just froze. The water froze.
Oh.
Wow.
And they used to have to stand watch, the officers on there. They had plugged in suits. They have to stand there for, say, 6 or 7 hours. And he said sometimes it was so bad. You know that also in the Royal Navy at that time, there were lots of young sailors. They were 14, 15, 16. They couldn't read or write. So the officers had to write. There was one who could read or write, and he used to write all to the pens. Dear Mum and Dad, I am fine, and how are you? Your loving son. And the ones who could write, and they would get like a penny a letter for it. And the officers used to have to, what do they call it? They used to read through it. They had to all see that everything was fine. Because what do they call it in those days, man? You must see that there's nothing that can give anything away as far as...
Like the Secret Service. Or
No, they scrutinize them. Just go through them. There's a certain word for it. This has gone out of my head.
Censors.
And the officers had to
Was
see...
censored.
Censored, yeah. Everything was censored, even these few little lines. But this is now the guy who's got a little bit of education, and he's a letter writer, and the others pay him a penny. So they were uneducated, the young people at that time. They were in the Navy, they used to go to...
They went at 16 or...
Yeah, 14. 14 some of them were, 15. But Grandpa Dick said that sometimes nobody who ever got seasick. Like it was so bad, You said, and you go down into the engine rooms, and the engines are working with smell the oil and the vomit. Every bucket was put out for these people to vomit. Because no matter how good your stomach was and how you never got seasick, everybody got seasick because of these. He said it was about 6 stories high, so big the waves were. It was terrifying. But anyway, there you are. It's a war that was fought. And those two guys, David he ended up as the head of the physicians in Grootskier department. They were lovely boys. And Herbert was Dick's greatest pal. Herbert became a judge of the Supreme Court, and Daddy still got his Adie's father's godparent. And when
Charmaine.
your father's godparent.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when Cheston used a certificate, what do they call the certificate that you get people to say that you are of good character and everything else?
Yeah.
It was signed by David, and he said, Judge David Mackenzie, Judge of the Supreme Court. So that was on his letterhead, So the third brother became a farmer. So these boys are very, very rich. I mean, there were millions and millions and millions, And but they were just guys like you and I. I mean, they didn't try to be people that they weren't. But there were lots of hangers-on, you know, rich people. There were lots of people who regarded the Mackenzies greatly because, you know, who they were, because they knew their great-grandfather was Sir David Harris, who was very, very wealthy, you know. And but he was a mining magnate, a diamond magnate.
Okay, rich guy.
And these and my husband's father worked for them, you know, and they just sort of accepted because they're friends. I mean, they didn't have to. It's like the Oppenheimers, you know, being friends with you. See what I mean?
Yeah.
But they didn't think they were so great. They just had professions, and they were just very nice people. But they lived well, you know, and they didn't care about motor cars and things like that. You know, they just. It wasn't important in their lives.
So you met him after you
cars.
had come back from the war, obviously.
Yes, after he came back from war.
And he didn't really talk about his experiences.
Not too much. No, he never ever said anything. I'm so sad we didn't. Did you show him the boat in the study? Go and show him the.
Oh, we'll show him.
We'll go afterwards and we'll take videos of it.
Yeah.
I did.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, but do it with that one also.
Because you know, he never really talked much. That's why I say. No, I found his mother made. My husband's late mother made albums of the cards that he sent over, and he did sometime mention it. But anyway, when the war broke out, there were lots of guys at university who said, "We're going to join. You know, we're going to get out." And his father says, "You're not going anywhere. You're getting your degree, and then you can go."
Yeah.
He wanted to go to the Navy. The South African Navy was just not the Navy to talk about anyway. And his eyesight wasn't too good, and they didn't care. And there was one, actually had such a sense of humour. His sister was then at boarding school. They were at the Queen Hotel, but she went to boarding school in St. Cyprian's and Cape Town to be with other girls. It was a little bit of a problem. What do you think this is? Oh, I'm just sitting down.
Yeah, walk a bit.
Hello. This is Mrs. Aldridge speaking. Just repeat what you just said. Please repeat what you just said. I didn't hear you properly. Oh yes, yes. What about the male boutique? No, thank you, my dear. Thank you. I'm not interested today. Thanks so much for calling. Bye-bye. Oh God, it's somebody's nail boutique. It's
Telemarketers or what?
God, you are such a nuisance.
Do you
Where
want
was I
anything
now?
to drink, Granny?
No, thank you. Where was I now?
You're talking about Grandpa Dick.
The war experience.
Oh yes. And he had Daddy not show you that card. So now he's writing cards. Where is he writing it from? From the Bahamas.
Oh yeah, I have seen those cards.
He writes to his sister at St. Cyprian's. He said, "Hi there, baby. You know, don't let anybody talking you joining. It's all a girls' school, you know. Don't let anybody talk you into joining the Navy and going to tropical islands. It's all a lot of baloney. It's as hot as hills." Lovely sense of humour, and then I thought, my God. So then I think they were hiding around there, and then he wasn't allowed to say anything in his postcard. I think they were also debated as well, and things crossed out. He didn't know at that time. He was 21 years old, and that you mustn't mention certain names in case it was dangerous. And then I think they must have gone up to Nova Scotia, and then they went across
Yeah.
to England. So they didn't go the normal way because they were dodging the U-boat who were very much around in those days. Okay, underneath. And that's when we went to the Naval College in Greenwich. Now that's another thing. I want to look up the Naval College in Greenwich, and there he stayed for it's lovely. It was built in God knows how long. It's beautiful. It's got lovely paintings on the murals on the wall. You know, everything in England is old, has been there for many, many years. The Royal Naval College in Greenwich. And there he stayed for 6 months, and he got his pips and everything else, and his colours, and then he went on to the aircraft carrier.
So he was at sea for most of the war.
Yes, yes, he was in the Navy. He was at sea for most of the war.
And where did they go during the war? Did they go to Japan side? Did they go
Yes,
around
they
Germany?
went all over, as I told you, even to Australia. That's when he sent to the Australians and said, what did you think of Australia? He said, I didn't bother to get off the boat. So they were hanging around there, and he knew all the history of what had happened there with Lord Mountbatten and all that crap. There was something, and I thought to myself, what happened there? I don't even know, but there was things going on there, you know. And we never talked about that. So you could now, if it was allowed, you could explain, you know, what happened there, you know, why they were there and all that. Can you imagine?
Sure. What aircraft carrier, can you remember the name?
HMS Furious, yes, of course I can.
HMS Fury?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's HMS Indefatigable, HMS, there's a whole lot of them, and he was in HMS Furious.
Okay.
He's there.
Wow. Interesting. What did he do on the...
He was an officer. He
Was
was
an officer.
overseeing the engine. You know what he did in school? His university wax. He used to go into the passengers, these boats carrying coal up and down the coast.
Yes.
He used to work in the engine rooms.
Oh, okay. What do you think he brought back after he went to the war? How do you think he might have changed since before he...
I didn't know him before the war.
Mm.
I only met him after the war. When he already worked, you know, when he already had this assignment in Egypt finished and all that.
Oh.
Yeah.
But he wasn't... It didn't seem to you like the war scarred him.
Yes, he did emotionally, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, but he never talked, you know, the British people don't talk.
Mm.
Not even, I remember his mother too. His mother said, you know, she didn't believe in people being sick. And I didn't know how sick he was. He had angina, but he never complained.
Ah.
You're not sick. There's nothing matter with you. You don't talk about illness and money.
When did he die?
When did he die?
1990.
I'm not quite sure. It's now 20 years ago. I lost him. He was only 70, you know, when he died. He was very young.
If it's 20.
But he had bad circulation
No,
in his...
it's 1991.
1991. Yeah.
I think, yeah. The year before I was born.
Yes, that's right.
What?
Adi hadn't been born even.
Can you remember the date?
Yeah, I think it was the 3rd of June.
3rd of June. Oh, because I was born in 91, December.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. You 92.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's interesting. He was 70?
He was only 70 when he died, or
70.
71, I'm not quite sure. But he was young. That's young for a man, for
That
somebody,
is young.
for a person to die. But people now even die of 70 and they haven't fought a war or anything.
No.
But he had very bad circulation in his legs and he had angina.
Mm.
You
What's
know,
that?
angina is pressure of your heart. You know, your heart muscles don't work properly. You know, you don't get the blood circulating properly and all that.
And what was he like with Daddy when he was a child?
Very, very good. You know, Daddy sat on his lap and everything else. Very sort of Victorian, but very good. But he just couldn't beat anybody. You know, he's sort of like when he had.
Oh, he didn't want to give him a
Smack you.
hiding.
Yeah, no, that wasn't in his makeup. You know. No, he's very gentle and he loved animals. He adored animals.
Didn't you smack him?
No. He had,
Maybe
always,
you should have.
his mother used to breed bull terriers when he was a baby, and I've got a picture of him in a pram in Kimberley outside their little house, you know, with a bull terrier lying next to the
And he loved animals. Eh?
animals. And Daddy had a bull terrier. We kept bull terriers, you know, and he adored them. He adored cats too. I couldn't stand cats, you know. You know what he used to do? The bull terriers go for cats, and if
Yeah.
they come into your property, and this one caught a cat, and he went and tried to get the cat out of the bull terrier's jaws. He had a big thing on his arm. Now, I wouldn't go near that sort of thing. He would go in and, you know, because he couldn't bear.
I'm sure he had seen worse in his life.
Yeah. But I mean, he was a gentle
Yeah,
sort of
that's
a
why-
guy. He was very gentle. He's gentle. He was a gentle guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't tough. He just wasn't a toughie. He couldn't take toughness, and he couldn't take people being rude and coarse, you know.
Yeah. Did you guys have a very open, trusting, loving relationship throughout, or was there a bit more up and down, a bit more fighting sometimes?
He would never fight, so we never had fighting.
Oh.
He said, I don't want to argue with you, this is what I'm saying. And Daddy knows too. I said, what should we do? I said, you ask Daddy, what he says will be right. He said, I don't want to argue, I don't want to do anything, don't argue. So we never argued. He just didn't want to argue, it wasn't his line. That is what I thought, and I'm saying that. And I always knew he was right, because I knew nothing. I was just stupid about love and anything.
But
And
did
I
you
knew
guys-
that he was the one with the experience and you know, common sense. The Victorian people had common sense. They taught each other common sense, a lot of common sense, you know.
Mm.
They don't rush into things that they don't know what's going to happen, you know.
You guys only had you only had Chester.
Yeah, I didn't want anyone to thank you. And I was 33. We wanted, it's hard work.
Mm.
The other day, that same day as my instructor, I don't know what they said about, Lydia, why did I only have one child? I said, because it was far too much hard work. I wanted to play golf, you know. I wanted to play sport, you know. I said, I knew you were going to say that. I said, it's hard work.
Mm.
Come on.
Was Dad a difficult child? Was he
No, he
naughty?
was sick, you know. God, what is it? You know, all kids get sick, Heidi, and they keep you out of.
But was he like naughty?
No, not really. Not really. He just wanted to be loved like any other child, you know. I mean, he wasn't particularly naughty, but he just could never. He never concentrated at school. I can tell you that. He found it. All the reports always said he's a nice child, but he can't concentrate. He's disappointed because he can't concentrate. He was always interfering with other kids around him, you know, and fitting, you know, and teasing them and carrying on.
Shame.
I see my battery is going to run out soon,
Yeah.
so I want to squeeze in like a few more questions.
Yeah.
Just answer briefly, okay?
You've got Adie and William now
Yeah.
as grandchildren. Or you've got, what's your
And
youngest?
me, yeah.
And Lee.
And my sister Lydia.
Give Adie, give her some advice about her life, because she's on the edge now of going to Korea,
Yeah.
and that's going to send her off into a.
The different, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What can she, you know her well, what can she do in her life to make sure that everything's
Well, you know, it's her choice, and whatever comes, she'll just have to face it. She's made the choice, the die has been cast, you know, there is nothing else. She can't stop herself now. She wanted that, and she must now face it and get into it. There's no turning back.
Yeah.
But do your homework beforehand, I suppose. I don't know. I could never have done that in a million years, and like what she's doing, you know. I couldn't have, I just didn't have the guts. But, you know, it's her choice, and she must face the ups and downs, which are going to come anyway, you know. Nothing's ever like you think it was going to be. Remember what I told you? So, she'll have to face it, and it won't all be pleasant. In life altogether anyway. Nothing is ever always nice and good and everything else.
But it's worth it.
It's worth it, yeah. And lots of young people are struggling. I mean, you see the people twirling their hair and biting their nails and being, you know,
Is that
stressed.
is that what you want to say to all three of us?
Yeah, no.
You face it. You make your choice, and you must whatever choice you make, you must be prepared to face it.
Okay.
And William, what do you see happening in William's life, in his future?
Well, I always knew that William would never do the corporate world. He's just not one of those guys. And I think maybe his father thought there was a chance for him, but I couldn't can you see William in a corporate world? I couldn't. He was going to do something else, I don't know what. But if he's happy with what he's doing, he'll have to make a living somehow. And if a teacher is not going to get rich, but do you want to get rich, or do you want to do what you enjoy doing? Because you mustn't think all the rich people got it easy. It's taking risks. I was telling Adia, it's a hell of a job. I mean, Adia's father worked very, very hard. It's hard work. Everybody will tell you, you know about Christo Visa.
Yeah.
He said, you got to work. Because somebody said to him in one of his interviews, you know, what do you give advice to the young people? He said, W-O-R-K, work.
Mm.
But you people have no idea what it is to really work hard. But these people do, although he's prepared for it, you know, but it is work. But do you want to work all that hard? And look what happened to him.
Okay, yeah, and Lee?
Lee, yeah, I saw Lee growing up. And she was like a one child, you know, like Daddy was. And trying to think, she was very different to Addie and William. She had more attention and concentration on her all the time, but anyway, she's fine. She could be more mature at her age, but it doesn't really matter. And she is, of course, spoiled, because most only children are spoiled, but needn't necessarily be so. But she's very sweet, and she's kind, and she's considerate.
What do you think, if you look at her future, what direction will she take?
I have no idea. Well, she said she wants to teach, so she's not...
Lee is a born teacher.
Yeah, and she's not an academic, you know, she's sort of, and that's fine if she wants to do that. She wants to teach, she wants to
be a
children.
good teacher.
Yeah. And?
Yeah.
And she's got, what is I think she's got compassion.
Mm.
You know, people must be compassionate, you know. If you haven't got compassion, you might as well be dead.
Mm.
So there's soul there.
Do you want to say anything to Dad? Or
Well,
about Dad?
You could be more patient, you know.
No, I think he's past that.
And don't
He'll
always
never be patient.
and don't always criticize everything I say. You know, whatever I say is nonsense, you know, so it can be criticized, you know, so I know nothing, in other words.
Are you proud of him?
Yes, of course I'm proud of him, you know,
Yeah.
because I just couldn't believe, but he worked, you know, I mean, it has its cost. He must have taken risks in his life, you know, and he wouldn't have taken it if he wasn't prepared for it, so he's quite mature, which we didn't think it would be. As I said, his father would turn in his grave. Because, you know, that he wanted to do it, so he did it. He woke up very late. Suddenly, I don't know what possessed him to think, well, you know, where am I going? What am I doing? I'm going to work for other people all my life, you know. And he knew where I was going. You see, you must have a sort of a target, a plan, sort of, like what you really want to be and what you... It's not everybody's, you know, plan to do things, you know, and take risks. As this guy, I was telling Adi, this guy, Michael Roberts, who retired at 40 from a Standard Bank.
Mm.
He was very young when he'd made the top. And when he was interviewed, he's got this, he bought himself a little wine farm, and his wife and children on the farm. And he was commuting to Cape Town and back for about 2 years, and he thought, oh no, this is too much, you know, when things in the country started looking not too good. So he went down too, and now Mr. Ramaphosa is calling all this white sort of intelligentsia back, trying to get it back into the country and the business of the country and all that. So they've asked him to come back and help with something, and he said, you know, I grew up in the Dutch Reformed and the Calvinistic background, and my father taught me everything right. It was all, but what he did not tell me was to sometimes take a risk. I said, well, what father will take his son to take a risk? He said, and if you don't take the risk, you're not going to get there. But you must have confidence in yourself, and you must take that risk. So, but he had the capacity to rise above the normal guy, you know, because at 40, he was at the top in the Standard Bank.
Mm.
And now they've got him back, you know, he's giving a little bit of work, and he's still living in the Cape. But,
I'm going to miss you too.
No, I'll miss you greatly, you know. I was telling everybody, you know, my granddaughter, when you came, you did all the things for me, and I mean, who's going to do that now? And what I couldn't get right, you would do it for me quickly, and that's it. But I managed, you know, I won't fall to pieces. I'm telling you, the main thing is you must keep healthy. If you're old, if I have a bit of an ache or pain, you say, fortunately I don't get sick. But if I'm not feeling up to scratch, life is, I just don't feel so good that day. I don't want to be doing things. You must be healthy, and then you can get out, get into my car, go and buy the groceries, do what I want to do, It makes a difference if you must be healthy, you must be young. Makes a hell of a difference. At any age. Because young people also get sick, eh?
Yeah.
There are lots of young people that get sort of, some of them at Canadians have shoulder operations now. Shoulder operations. And then the one's got this funny back, and they're young, maybe. They're 40 years old. Even younger, not even 40. Nice husbands, nice children, but they're not quite well. I keep on confusing myself, What was I at that? What was I like at that age? Did I have big illnesses or anything? Or that type of thing, The crippled shoulders or legs or whatever. I don't know. But I'm just very, very healthy, you see. Fortunately. I mean, there are little things you work on, you did. Lots of degeneration, your muscles all go off. But don't worry too much about that, so long as you can look after yourself. It gives you a feeling of independence. I think old people must try and keep independent. Be independent as long as you can. It helps you going.
Yeah.
You see, this time Charmaine took me. Last time when I went to the doctor, she didn't take me. Another lady across the road took me. It was in the afternoon, I remember. And she has leave, of course. She told me she can't make friends, if she can't find anybody. Oh, I didn't know he was taking this.
What?
He's still recording.
How are you?
What are you, I wasn't listening.
Oh, she's talking about Charmaine. We'll just edit that out.
Yeah.
Sure. No, I will really. Don't worry.
So should I leave you with the memory card?
If you can.
Yeah.
Is it your memory card, Chester's memory
It's
card?
Chester's, but you...
But I'll give it to you tomorrow. I'll give it to them tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're going to do it tonight?
I'm going to just copy it over tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Do you mind if I go into the house a bit and just record?
Yes. If you showed in the boat, in the study.
Yeah, it's...
It's on the wall there.
Turn that
See,
out.
when I sit too long, I get a bit stiff. And balance to it. When you get old, your balance goes, for a loop. I'll show you now. I've forgotten your name.
John.
John, here you are, you see.
What did she say?
No, she said forgot my name.
As Chester was saying, this is like a little sardine tin. The big American aircraft carriers are about 20 times that size. They are beautiful. Grandpa Dick says sometimes those little decks were so small for the little planes to take off that they fell into the water. They couldn't get enough speed up, and they just dropped into the water and they had to be fished out. Okay.
Crazy.
And this is in the harbour of Ouma. I found that. It's a little harbour in sort of like that. It is land here, and you get through a little gate and you go up into that fjord thing. Yeah, no, that is ancient, my dear. It's very antiquated. I think that I haven't kept that. They've sings them all up. That's the University of Cape Town, degree of Bachelor of Science. And then he's got another a mining thing that he did.
These?
This is Dick's father, and etching was done when he was at the Queenstown. Some artist who stayed there, And this is the grandmother on somebody's side. I don't know which one. And this when I was bridesmaid. This is when we became engaged.
Which one?
In Cape Town. That is when I was a bridesmaid to one of my brothers in Cape Town, actually. It's a long time ago. And there's Dick, that's his father.
Sorry, is this one? Is the
That's me.
on the bridesmaids day?
Yes, that's a bridesmaid. That's me, yeah. Look at this thing that you all go. Look at the little hats we used to wear, right? Right, going on a plane. If you went on an aircraft, you travel, you put a hat on. Your mother's too young for that.
Yeah, please.
Oh, thank you. Where do you want to go from here?
In the bedroom.
Yeah, just.
I've closed all the doors. Oh, the windows. I forgot to close them.
The pipes. Wow.
You feel our wards getting in here.
His name is on it. Can you see?
AC Aldridge. Isn't it AK Aldridge?
AC.
Which
Granny,
one?
who's AC Aldridge?
AC. Those are. I think they're about Carl's father. I don't know what his name was.
Really?
Yeah. I love these pictures of William. You know that he's just. This is a beautiful thing too. Look at this.
William's
Dick's father used to smoke a pipe sometimes and a cigar. You know, he's very British. You know.
Yeah.
In the evenings, it was always a cigar. You know, with a portrait. All that sort of thing. And here's nothing really of importance.
Is that Chester?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cute, eh?
Very.
William looked exactly like that when he was a baby.
You know, I can kick myself when those things would take, I think it's about 8 months or 9 months old. And the guy who did it within living in Port Elizabeth, and the guy who did it for advertisement in his window, he put a huge one up like that in enlargement. It was enormous like
Of
that.
Dad?
Yeah, of that.
Wow.
One of those. And I never bought it. It was huge, you know. Beautiful, it came up so nicely.
You've got a very neat home. Very neat.
Pardon?
You've got a very neat home. Very
I
tidy.
I keep it neat. Look at that, I've got that on tonight, and I put this on, put that on, and I've got a one in the bathroom.
Here we
So,
go.
and I close the window at the doors, and my friend said, I'm making a hot box for myself. I sleep in the hot box, I'm not cold. Stays warm the whole night through, you know, which is lovely.
Yeah, all right. Happy?
No, you're nice. My home is always tidy. You've got to keep it tidy, otherwise, you know, with old people can become very untidy, eh? You knew that, eh?
Well, if I didn't, I don't
Even young
know.
people can become untidy.
There we go. Oh, and the kitchen, I just want to see.
Yeah.
That's a new kitchen that Chester put in after he sold his business. It was, this place has been built about 20 years ago, so
Have you stayed here since then? Or
just quickly afterwards. How long am I staying here, Eddie? About 18 years. I came up in 2000.
sure.
Is it 18 years?
Yeah.
No, you went, William?
No, I came up in 2000.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
I thought it was like... Yes, okay.
No, just, you know, if you don't keep tidy when you're old, you know, you get a mess of stuff that's untidy. You can take one of,
Did you?
take a video of this. I want to maybe have some more made for my friends. Do one for you on your. I gave Janice one, you know, and she absolutely loves it. That's very nice. That's good advice for you, all of you. For the young people especially, you see what you're supposed to do.
I've just filmed it, I don't read it giving.
Just read it quickly and you'll see what it's all about. What about Eddie? Don't forget your stuff.
Yeah. I'm not going just yet.
Oh, aren't you? Okay.
Lord Balfour.
Yeah, Lord Balfour, you look it up. You chaps can look everything up on your phones, you know.
I want to look
What?
up HMS Furious. That's
Yeah,
what
you
look
know
up
what-
HMS Furious.
Granny, do you know what the internet is?
Yeah.
What is it? What is it?
Oh, you can look things up on the internet. Anything you like, I think.
Yeah,
You can
it's
bring
true.
it up on, yeah. No, I know a little bit about it, but I just can't work it. I can't comprehend it all, you see. Adi, please take that for me through to the kitchen.
There we
You see how tidy I am.
go. Okay.